Hello, everyone.
Hi, how's it going? You're back. It's good to see you. You know what I'm saying?
If you're not back, if this is your first time listening to us Outlier Podcast people, I'm Annalyse,
I'm Nick.
and we talk about songwriting and production and music and cool artists and all of our processes and creative things that we love to do. So we hope that you
Pianos and
can, yeah.
singing and Jesus and money and yeah.
Oh
Sorry,
gosh.
I got too excited.
Nah, it's good. It's good. Yeah. So we're kind of in the middle of talking about song ideas, getting a song started. And before we start into today's topic, we want to review a bit. If you listened to our last podcast, good on you. If you didn't, here's a quick little catch up that will get you up to speed for today's content. So, last time we talked about what makes a great idea. It was a lot of fun. You should listen to it if you haven't already. But at the end, we talked about ways to kind of develop your idea and get a bunch of content out on the paper so that you can take it to the next step, which is getting it into a pseudo draft. I say pseudo draft because drafts are the worst. Drafts make my skin crawl. The word draft makes me a little bit want to throw up in my mouth.
Saying pseudo is very comforting. It's like the Sudafed to the cold of making a freaking draft. Drafts are the worst. So
Right.
gross.
So if you heard that word and you want to run away, please don't, because we also want to run away.
Run away.
Yeah, so we talked about these things. Starting an idea, getting some more stuff out of it. We talked about throwing on that timer and just writing as much as you can related to your idea, your song idea, in that given amount of time. If you want to use a sundial, we talked about that, and it's a great, old school method.
Please don't.
What?
Please do not use a sundial. Ignore the sundial. We talked about a sundial for like 10 minutes, bro.
So yeah, good old timer sundial. You could do some word association. So you could just write all the words you could think of that go with that idea. Again, you could use the 5 senses if you are like really struggling with a starting point for that. So what do you feel? What do you taste? What do you see? What do you smell related to your idea? That'll get some cool stuff out. You could write a short story or multiple short stories to see what direction your song can go. You can find a couple reference songs that are kind of a goal of what you want your song to look like in its final form. You can check other ideas you might have to marry the idea you currently have with other ideas to get more out of it. You could do the mind map, which is like the spider web connecting one idea to a million ideas. And those are all great ways to develop lots of content and more ideas out of your baseline idea, which is kind of going to guide the whole song into its final destination. So today, as I already said, cringe, we're talking about drafts, a little bit of song form, very basic stuff. If you're more advanced to this, you may get bits and pieces that are inspiring. You may be like, okay, I'm going to pause and never come back to this podcast. And I hope that that's not true. But if you're new to this or even have some experience, wherever you are in the journey, basically, I hope there's something for you. Stay tuned. It's going to be a good little potty today. Okay, that's not a great way to...
We're learning how to use the potty here, folks. Just don't judge. Don't judge. Great beginner thing. Hopefully we save you some time and suffering like we had when we first started writing. And if you're advanced, hopefully a nugget or two, man. Sometimes that can really knock a thing loose. So appreciate you being with us.
Yes, thank you. Hey, so if you have all those ways of getting all your ideas out on the paper, the first thing you want to do before you dive into creating a draft is just sifting through all that you did and finding the nuggets, finding the good stuff that you really want to carry into the next part of the phase. the next part of the phase, the next phase of the process. So, take a highlighter if you want to start a whole new page and just kind of write summary notes of what you really liked from your kind of brainstorming process. But whatever it is, collect them all, get all the good stuff on one page, and that will get you into this draft phase that maybe will be less dreaded after today's podcast. So, without further ado, Professor Nicolas, can you talk us through some very basic song form?
Yeah. So here's what we're going to do. This first part of things is kind of the more creative process. Now, everybody can be creative. So if you're a little bit more analytical, don't worry. It can really help at this phase of the game. But you're going to kind of let that crazy little fairy fly and just write down a bunch of ideas. We have all these different ways of doing this. We got all these little ideas sitting here, right? And now, just like buying clothes, right? You got all your clothes over here. Eventually, you got to put it in the closet, man. You got to make it some outfits, get some organization, formal, informal, colors, whatever cool things you do with clothes that I probably don't do because I can barely dress myself. Anyway, a closet's a good analogy, right? And we're going to take these creative ideas, this little fairy fluttering over here, and we're going to put it into a little form. So it's important to kind of know your closet, right? So like, what are we going to do with these creative ideas on this side of the widgemaroo? So let's just talk about song form real quick. If you've never done any song form things, this is a starter pack. We'll probably talk about song forms more later. There's all kinds of great info out there about that. Song forms. So verse, chorus is really, really common. And sometimes between the verse and the chorus, there's something called a pre-chorus. What the heck does all of that mean? Think about Bon Jovi, man. Thinking about being slippery when wet. Okay, here we go. We got some Bon Jovi. We've got Living on a Prayer, right? So it's, Tommy does blah, 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 blah. You know the words. You know what I'm talking about. Gina works the diner all day. That's verse, right? So what are we doing? We're setting up the characters. We're kind of getting going with the story. We started to get invested in the characters. Oh man, he's down on his luck. She's working for love. Oh, this is adorable. And you got a pre-chorus that just builds towards that chorus idea. We got to hold on to what we got. Doesn't make a difference if we make it or not. We got Bon Jovi, and so that's the pre-chorus, that part. And then the whole Living on a Prayer part is the chorus. It's the main idea of the song. It's the thing we usually go off singing most often. It's, smaller in scope in terms of lines than the verse, the pre-chorus, and it's our main guy. And so we kind of got to talk about some other deets, don't we, Annalyse? Like, do you want to talk to these kittens and cats about syllables and rhyme just a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. So thank you, Professor Nikki. I feel like golf claps because we're super athletic and like sporty here.
I'm freaking like sporty spice over here, bro.
If you like sports, you're listening to the wrong folks.
There's some good ass sports. I said the A word. Oh no.
That's fine. It's a donkey. Man. It's a donkey. You were talking about the donkey sport.
Love donkey
Side
sport.
note, this is how terribly unlearned I am in sports. I will accidentally say, I'll be at a game with the fam or my husband or whatever. And I'll be like, look at those costumes they're wearing. Like dead serious. Or I'll call their practices a rehearsal on accident. Like these are real life things I say. I don't know. I need intervention, I think is the point here.
Here's the thing though. If you were talking about donkey sports, costumes and rehearsals are the correct word, man. It's the donkey sports. It confuses the whole issue. It's so theater, dude. Rehearsals, costumes. Dude, I love that, man. Music nerds.
Yeah. Yeah. So don't come asking us about sports. I mean, maybe Nick, but not me. Anyways, so you got the verse, the chorus, the pre-chorus, the Bon Jovis of the world. Beautiful. Thank you for the description. Yeah, so the verse, you wanna do all your idea development story development there. You want to hash out the details. The chorus you really want to save for the emotional like aha moment of the song. So it's like this is where your title comes in typically. This is where the big summary that like applies through every piece of the story is captured. So there's a lot of other things that you can throw into these magic formulas of song form that make it extra delicious. So you got syllables, right? Syllables, I don't even know the technical definition of a syllable. It's really kind of hard to explain. But
oh yeah. That's why I threw it on you, dog. I was like, panic. How do you say that? I mean, hopefully people have had English class, some poetry. So a little
yeah,
bit.
I mean, how would you
How would
describe
you
a
do that?
syllable in real basic terms? I think it's kind of the phonetic rhythm of a word ish. So each word has its own number of syllables. Each sentence has its own number of syllables. And really the main thing to take away from the syllable talk here is that you're going for symmetry. You're going for a very uniform look and sound that makes everything fit right into place so that it's easy to listen to, it's easy to palate, it's easy to understand what's being said. It's kind of like when you hear a song and someone's jammed like 20 words into a line that doesn't have enough time for 20 words. You're like, bro, I don't know what you said. I totally missed the point. It took away from the idea. So the idea is to keep things concise and to show, not tell. That's kind of one of my favorite rules of songwriting, right? Show, not tell. So you want to describe everything, setting the scene, using your five senses. You want to draw people into the scene that you're sharing. The Bon Jovi Living on a Prayer example is brilliant because I'm like right there with these characters, right in their stories. It's like I'm an observer in the diner with Gina, whatever her name is. That's totally not her name.
Dude, it's such a good idea. Bon Jovi's got Tommy in like several of his songs, dude. He is crushing the Tommy, dude. And the thing is, it still works so well in each of his songs. You're just
Still
there
works.
with Tommy. His six strings and Hawk, man. How you gonna get that six string out, bro? It talks tough, bro. So
yeah. So these are all things that syllables can really help with getting a uniform closet, if you will, so that the spacing is right, the story is being told in the proper kind of structure that really gives you more freedom. Like all these boundaries give you more freedom to say what you really want to say, to really invite people into the story or the scene that you're painting. So syllable count can really help with that. So making each line kind of match in the space that it's taking up with syllables. If you're watching this video, an example of syllables, it's like, I mean, I can use my hand, right? It's like, what are you doing? 5 syllables, right? I mean, I guess you can kind of hear that in my voice too if you're only listening. So if that's your first line of the song, you want all of your lines to have 5 syllables like that. What are you doing? What are you saying? Like that will just give it this beautiful uniform look. And then you have other things that make it flowery and fun, like rhymes. All of these things and extra tools that we'll talk about more down the road set up kind of a contract with the listener, a listening contract, if you will. So the listener is hearing your song and they're like, oh, they're establishing a rhyme scheme. And they're not actively thinking these things unless they're like Nick or Annalyse and they're like, ooh, I can't listen to anything without becoming an immediate geek.
super deep, bro.
Yeah, but you could tell I'm getting excited because I'm talking really fast. I'm so sorry. You could slow these down, I think, right? You could like listen back on slower speed.
Crush it, dog. Keep going, man. Show not tell, etc. You're crushing it.
Yeah. So you're setting up a contract with the listener saying, I'm establishing this really strong uniform. I'm putting the coats in the same part of the closet. I'm keeping the colors here. My hangers are all an inch apart. It's giving the listeners this beautiful structure that makes the whole thing more enjoyable and easier to listen to. So we'll talk a whole lot more about methods of going about syllable count and structure and rhyme and all the other tools. But those are just like super accessories that you don't want to think too much about at this stage. But I didn't want to go without addressing them, because inevitably we're all thinking about how do we make our songs more interesting. And rest assured, we'll get there. You'll get to put all that stuff in. If you're more advanced and you already have kind of ideas for that at this stage, super. That will help you kind of refine faster, but you don't need to go there yet. Just know that it is in the closet. We're going to utilize it. It's going to make it extra pretty, extra organized.
Yeah, man. A pretty closet, a pretty showroom floor of a retail shop, a pretty little jewelry cabinet, everything organized. It's such a vibe, and a gift of songwriting is being able to contextualize these like experiences we live every day in everyday life, and enjoy them. So okay, so on this draft journey, right? So we got all crazy, we got all these ideas, we kind of highlighted the ones we like. The other ones are kind of sitting there. You don't got to erase them. You might be surprised. You might grab one of them, but you got your highlight reel ready to go. You start to plug it into the draft, right? So basically, this can be intimidating, right? This is why the pseudo draft is so important. Call it a pseudo draft. Don't call it a full draft. It sounds like a military activity. It sounds like we're going to have to be doing pull-ups. We're not doing pull-ups yet. It's so scary, right? So what do? One way that we can approach this draft in a friendly way is you take some of these ideas, like if you have a storyline for your verse, you can write it in stupid. This is my skill, writing it stupid, because, well, so you just start to write out the plot line. So let's say we were doing let's pretend like we're Bon Jovi, my favorite activity, and we're going to do this in pseudo draft. So instead of saying Tommy used to work on the dock, something real nice and poetic, and the syllables are great, it'll be like, Tommy is a kind of dock worker kind of guy. He's grimy, and you kind of write a draft, and then eventually you distill it down and you make it a rhyme. So you just like write it all in stupid. Gina works the diner all day. You could be like, Gina's a freaking waitress in a diner, and she's tough. She's a tough cookie, right? But she also loves her man. You write that in there, and you try as best you can as you distill it down to syllables and rhyme and everything to get all of those characteristics to kind of show up. And probably the word you wrote in the middle, if you did like the little circle or you did a word association with a word, probably that word or some phrase around that is going to be the thing that's going to bring things together in your chorus. So if you are willing to take on this challenge, it's going to self-destruct in 5 seconds. Let's try to do this. We did some ideas in this first pod. Why don't we try to throw this together in a formy-do? Do you got any other nuggets for him, bro?
Yeah, I think if you're really not sure how many lines you want in each section of the song, in your verse and your chorus, a simple place to start: 8-line verse, 4-line chorus. If you want to throw a pre-chorus in there, you could do a 2-line pre-chorus. So you're taking what Nikki just said. You're writing out the plot. You're developing kind of the story or the direction of your song. In those 8 lines for the verse, in that 2-line pre-chorus or no pre-chorus at all, in that 4-line chorus. And it is okay to have like 20 drafts of bad. Every single time you do it, you will develop the story more. You'll get more specific. You'll find better words for things. You'll think of a fresh take. It's going to feel great. And it's a really good starting place to do this draft thing, because pseudo draft, sorry, because it gives yourself the freedom to just like organize it stupidly, like organize it plainly, be simple about it. Don't overthink it. You do not have to be immediately poetic and immediately perfect as a songwriter in draft 1. In fact, if you only write 1 draft and that's your final product, you probably did something wrong. Because even the best songwriters in the world, even the most celebrated, most award-winning people have some kind of pseudo draft. So yeah, I think that's kind of it for the draft talk. A lot of good stuff here. A lot of things talked about. So yeah, if you're trying this at home, if you want to do the follow along process of what we're talking about here, grab that idea that you had. Grab all the extra content you built from that idea, the brainstorming. Weed out your best and your worst from that, but keep it all. Throw a little Word doc or a piece of paper together that has 8 lines and 4 lines separate in 2 different sections, and start writing out where parts of the story go. And if you do that over a couple sittings and you let yourself sleep between them and you get your brain away, you'll find, in consistent scheduling of this creative time, you'll find that your brain is kind of always connecting some dots. And when you sit down and you look at a draft from yesterday, you might be like, wow, that's terrible. But now I have some better insight into how to make that one line, that second line, I know how to make that the final form. And then as you do that, it will start to develop slowly. And it's a really cool method. We have done this. We do this as the Outlyres. We do this with every single song we write. You might find that writing with other people, like co-writing, as they say, this is kind of a fun way to like break down your humble humanity part of yourself. To like break down the embarrassment and just be like, well, this line is absolutely terrible, garbage, hot trash, but here it is. So
there's nothing funner than just like having a food fight with each other, just being like, oh, you're garbage, I see you this garbage, and I'm gonna throw a rotten tomato in here. So yeah, that's it's so helpful to write in partnership. And yeah, man, sleeping on it, dude. How often do we sleep on it, man? All the time, right? Like,
yeah.
Let the subconscious brain work. The back burners of the oven are there, man. Keep that sauce warm, dude. Your subconscious can do so much good for you in the creative process. Sometimes taking a nap, like a Pooh Bear, is the best thing you can do. Your brain will work out the problem for you. So don't push through. Spend some time. Turn on that sundial. You know what I mean? Turn on that sundial. When that sundial turns off, just take a nap.
That's right. That's right. So get to pseudo drafting. Give yourself a whole lot of flexibility. Have some fun with it. Be silly with it. That's where the creativity is born. The more kind of grace you can give yourself, the more understanding and chill, relaxation vibes you can channel with this process, the better. And we will discuss how to get even more specific, even more refiney, if you will, in some podcasts to come. So as usual, thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned for more stuff. And Nikki, any final words to share with them?
Only one more. Bye.
Bye.